All right. I'll count it down in 3, 2.
Sorry, I tried to get it out as quickly as possible.
Oh, gosh. Hey everyone, this is Chris, and you're listening to One Cross Radio. And today we are joined by the always awesome and fun Mike and Thom. Gentlemen, how are you doing this afternoon?
Not too bad. Not too bad, thank you.
I'm alive, so.
No, that's
Well, that's good. I was going to say, Thom, you waved. The video's not going up, so nobody.
Oh yeah, I know.
I can't see you.
You guys.
Oh,
Because I finally took.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
I didn't realize I didn't have my camera on this whole time, and then I was like, "Oh wait, they can't see me."
And today, gentlemen, you have joined me to talk about. We're doing, listener, another episode in our Unmade series. In case you didn't read the title and you were just like, "All right, new episode of One Cross Radio is out. Let's just go," which I hope you did, but also
Very flattering.
So we're jumping back into our Unmade series, and today we're talking about one of our favorite film franchises, gentlemen. We're looking at unmade films of the Star Wars saga. And I'm specifying films because if we were to just look at unmade Star Wars things, period, we would be here a lot longer. Den of Geek actually has, when I was searching for films, they've got a link about 43 canceled Star Wars things, and only 5 to 10 of those are movies. At some point, I do want to dive into more of these, and I'll probably do this with you, Thom, and maybe Christian if he wants to join. The pantheon of unmade Star Wars video games is staggering. So that's a topic for a different time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pain in Thom's voice.
That we deserve. Squadron's a lot of fun.
Squadron's a lot of fun.
Order's a lot of fun. We got 2 relatively good Star Wars games and a plethora of crap.
Yeah.
Usually how it goes.
So we're limiting our discussion to films. So, gentlemen, if you quickly can, just share which is your favorite Star Wars?
Like actual made Star Wars?
Pardon?
Like
The ones that are actually made?
Oh, yeah. Which one's your favorite, and when did you kind of fall in love with Star Wars?
Jeez. Well, I mean, I can answer the second part of your question very easily.
Yeah.
I think I was about like 8 or 9 years old, and maybe I don't know when did the re-releases come out in theaters?
97.
Okay, so I would have been 10 years old. So I was close and around that area. My dad and I went to go see Empire in the theater. I had never seen any of the Star Wars before, so I didn't even see New Hope. I just saw Empire. Holy crap! Like mind exploded as a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Immediately watched New Hope. Return of the Jedi came out, I think, not long after that in theaters. So we went and saw it. I watched the video, I watched the VHS way before that though. But yeah, I remember that day specifically. I was in Cedar Brae Mall, fell in love with Star Wars, and never looked back.
Nice.
Cedar Brae Mall cinemas. Nice. I remember that. I went there to see Batman Forever for the second time. And I think, no, not Independence Day. I saw something else there, but I remember Batman Forever for sure, seeing it there. But did you want to?
I was out that. I'm done with the second part because the first part's a while.
The first part's easy, yeah. I mean, the second part's easy. The first part's the hard part. Yeah. I don't know what my favorite is, but I remember also in '97, I saw the commercials. I had heard of Star Wars before, and I remember a couple of years prior, I had borrowed Empire, the VHS, from Dawes Road Library. And I tried watching it, but I fell asleep. I don't think that was any fault of the movie. I was just tired, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
and plus I had no context, and it was like a really worn out videotape too, so I couldn't see anything. Um, but anyway, yeah, January '97. I saw the commercials. I remember vividly seeing the trailer for it, where it was like for a generation, and it was on
Yeah.
this TV. Um, Fans have watched Star Wars in this way, and then a TIE or an X-wing comes in, and as it comes towards the camera, the screen expands to widescreen,
And it
and
flies out of the TV.
yeah, flies out of the TV. Yeah, exactly. And so I saw that, and my birthday was coming up, so I'm like, I asked my parents, could I go see that for my birthday? And my parents, being who they are, were like, maybe. But anyway, it worked out that um, shortly after, I think it was the day that Empire Special Edition came out. I saw A New Hope. My dad took me to see that, and my mom and my sister went to go see Jerry Maguire. Um, but yeah, like I was hooked instantly, like instantly. Uh, I loved everything about this movie. Like I've always loved dogfights, and like the Death Star
Yeah.
attack was like,
yeah.
I don't know what to call it. It was ice cream. It was beautiful. Like so, yeah. And then I saw Empire with a friend of mine and his dad, and that was cool. But I already knew about the whole "I'm your father" thing, and I never got to see Jedi on the big screen. But anyway, and then I was obsessed with Star Wars.
Yeah. Well,
Obsessed.
I remember my dad introduced them to me. We watched them on VHS. I never got to see the special editions in theater. So we borrowed the VHSs from down the hall from our neighbors, and we kept them for like a week. And I watched all
Never gave 'em
three
back.
repeatedly, just kept watching them over and over. And then I met you guys in middle school. And Mike, you and I, we've joked before on podcast episodes, like we bonded over wrestling and Star Wars.
Yeah.
But I feel like especially Star Wars, that one stuck. Less the wrestling stuff, less so. And then of course, Tom, you and I did as well, and the three of us did. And we talk about like Rogue Squadron and the V-Wing that they introduced in it and how it tied into like the Dark Empire comic. And then when I finally got a DVD player, it was so I could get Star Wars on DVD. And I watched Empire Strikes Back in the widescreen for the first time ever. And I was so wrapped up in it because there was just little things that I had never seen because it got pushed out in full screen.
Yeah.
That by the time it got to the "No, I am your father" line, I was like, "Wow, wait, I knew this." Like I was just so wrapped up again. But it happens. Like when you first saw it as a kid, you just became obsessed with it. I think Jurassic Park did the same with dinosaurs. We're like, what? Oh my god!
Yeah.
And some of the Avengers do a really good job of too. Like no matter how many times I've seen the Avengers, like I watched Avengers Age of Ultron last night, and when they're all like standing in that circle and they're all back to back and they're protecting the core, like my heart still flutters. I get butterflies on my stomach, like it's the first time I'm seeing them team up, and I'm like, yeah.
Same with the first Avengers movie when they do the circle shot. I'm still pumped. Like I don't think I'll ever not be pumped for Avengers Assemble in Endgame. Like that is the only movie. Like I think I've said this before, maybe not on your podcast, so I'll say it again. Like in a movie theater, I'm quiet. I don't make any noise. I don't talk. Nothing. But like during Endgame, I was fist pumping and going, yeah! Like I was super in the theater. But yeah, like I remember, and we're kind of off topic now, but like
that's how we do.
Yeah, when it's about to be Avengers Assemble, and I'm like, he's gonna say the thing. I was so pumped. So
yeah,
pumped.
me
But
too.
yeah.
I remember like I try to be quiet in the theater. we all saw the prequels multiple times in theaters, but I saw a midnight showing of Revenge of the Sith. And when Lucasfilm showed up, we all collectively lost our mind. Like the theater erupted. And at that point we knew, like, okay, the other two were what they were, but it was just for that brief moment. The cynicism was gone, and we were wrapped up in that like childlike excitement again of like, yeah!
Yeah, that's the thing. Like even with the Force Awakens, it was yeah, everyone was cheering, and then by the time Rise of Skywalker got along, it was like, all right,
a bit of trepidation.
Let's see how this is. Yeah.
And dear listener, before we actually jump into the topic at hand, I just want to say, if you're noticing any audio issues, we are recording over Skype, and it is a documented fact that Skype hates me. So please bear with me.
Very true.
So please bear with me. It's just the easiest way for us to record.
And also, we have some rules.
Yes, we do. We do. Thank you for reminding me. So we talked about this before we recorded, but I'll let y'all know, listeners, that the rules of looking at unmade Star Wars movies today are they have to be at least substantiated. The quote has to come from a director, a producer, someone involved. It can't just be someone on Reddit or a Star Wars fan board being like, wouldn't this be cool? And trying to gain traction. You know how in real life there's a lot of... What was that, Tom?
No, I'm just making a bad joke about some guy on Reddit saying there's going to be a Padme movie.
No, there will be for sure a Padme book, like no question.
Books are easy.
Yeah. All right, and now we're going mobile. I gotta let Luna out. Yeah,
Time to go mobile.
Exactly. How long will it take to get market fresh strawberries?
8 minutes.
Time to go mobile. So good. So yeah, the rumors actually have to have some basis of fact behind them. A quick Google search on anything Star Wars, 90% of the first things you'll come across are just rumor, innuendo, or just like, oh hey, there was this one sentence that someone said, so we're gonna make an entire 12-minute video about how they're gonna cancel the sequel trilogy and pretend it never happened. And that kind of mess. So
George Lucas is taking this series back.
He might be involved a lot, like more in The Mandalorian and Clone Wars than we thought, but that doesn't mean he's taking it back. And the other thing is, we're gonna do as much as we can to make sure this isn't just a dump fest on the sequels or the prequels. We all have feelings about those, but right now, the fun of Unmade is looking at things that didn't get made for whatever reason. Now, of course, we can say, like, oh, hey, that sounds better than what we got. But let's not turn this into a 10-minute dump fest on the sequels or the prequels.
That's fair. My opinion on the prequels has evolved anyway, quite a bit. I enjoy them a lot more than I did.
They have been made better either by comparison or by supplemental material.
Yeah. Part of it's supplemental material, but another part of it is I think they've also aged relatively well. I went back and I watched Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith. I didn't watch Attack of the Clones again. I wanted to avoid that one. But Phantom Menace and Revenge of the Sith are actually like quite. I mean, Revenge of the Sith is obviously the best one, but Phantom Menace has a lot of good moving parts in it.
Yeah, it just got bogged down in all the political stuff.
Yeah,
and yippee.
So
yeah,
on Disney Plus right now, there's a Lego Star Wars holiday special, and it ends up involving like time travel shenanigans. And one of the funniest parts for me is like Rey ends up in the Phantom Menace in multiple spots, but in the first spot it's when Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon are on the Trade Federation ship, and Obi-Wan's just banging his head against the table, being like, I don't care about trade negotiations. They're so boring.
I love it so bad.
So funny. So I think the easiest place to kick this one off is with the sequel trilogy. Now, you're fairly being like, but guys, those got made. They just got released and they were what they were. Some people love them, some people hate them, and some people are like, all right, they are what they are.
And some people despise them.
Yes. Like a certain headband wearing individual.
Well, see, this is where the lack of video in this podcast does service. Listeners, I'm wearing a headband.
I also knew you would jump on it right away, so I'm like, it's fine.
Yeah.
So the Star Wars sequels have both existed and not existed since the end of the original trilogy. At points, George Lucas was all on board with them, and then he would flat out deny their existence. Especially around the time the prequel trilogy wrapped, he'd be like, no, the story was only ever the 6 movies. It was Anakin Skywalker's story, and then how Luke redeems him. But even back around Empire, there was talks of not only the sequel trilogy, but a sequel trilogy.
Yes, 12
so it would
episodes.
Have been a quadrilogy of trilogies. But I can't find any details about what episodes 10, 11, and 12 would have been. I'm trying to find where I had it open.
Well, this is going to come up a lot, I think, as we discuss further. But George Lucas is an unreliable narrator. He'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm making 9 of them. I'm making 12 of them. No, I'm only making 6. No, it's just going to stick with the 3. I'm going to do this. Oh no, I'm actually going to do this. I never said I was going to do the first thing." Like you can't get a straight story out of him.
Yeah, he's very notorious for that. I mean, especially given the fact that when he first made, he didn't intend to make a trilogy or like none of this really. It all kind of started developing and evolving in front of him.
He says
he was talking crap.
He says it was always the original trilogy was always a trilogy, but I don't think it was. I think it was only 1 episode, and then he kind of had maybe some things kicking around were maybe a 2 and 3, but like there was never in the plan. Really.
And like Luke and Leia originally were brother and sister in his draft. That's why they kissed.
Yeah, I know he planned that when Jedi was being written. Like he couldn't say otherwise, but no.
Well, I do believe, like, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on the original trilogy that he had planned for a trilogy. I don't think he thought it would get there, and he definitely probably didn't have them as fleshed out, because that.
Yeah, I think he had a story.
Yeah,
bare bone structure sort of thing.
Yeah. The attitude about Star Wars when it was being made was like, this isn't, who's gonna watch this? And then everybody was wrong.
Sorry.
No, go.
I read a really interesting article a couple of days ago. I think it was on Screen Rant, or maybe it was on Comic Book something. But it was the original draft of Return of the Jedi was calling for Luke to actually turn to the dark side.
Yeah, I've heard that.
And
I don't know how legit that is, but I've heard it. Yeah.
That would have been a pretty badass spin, especially leading for the sequel trilogy, to have Luke as the Empire's Padawan, or like that. That would have been really cool.
So I've got some loose stuff I'll just reference now for a little bit of the ideas they were considering for the sequel trilogy, but I'll start with Jedi. It was to feature Leia as an isolated monarch. Han was going to die, which is something Harrison Ford was pushing for. He's
wanted to kill Han Solo for years.
Which is why no one should have been surprised when Han died in episode
No, I wasn't really surprised at all. Like, oh, finally, Harrison Ford gets his release.
When people were like, I can't believe they killed Han, I'm like, he's been wanting this. Like, that's the only reason he came back.
Yeah.
He came back. Yeah.
And then
I wasn't surprised. I didn't want it to happen, but I wasn't surprised. I was like, this has. This makes for it to not Kylo has to kill his dad.
Well, it's also because episode 7 was a complete rehash, and an old man needed to die on a Death Star.
You shut your mouth. I hate when people say it was a rehash. You shut your mouth. Yes, it had many similar beats.
It was a rehash, but it was a very good rehash. I enjoyed the fact that it was a rehash. I was like, yes, back to basics, back to Star Wars. Thank you.
I still enjoy it. I still enjoy it thoroughly, but it is very, very much a rehash. I see the anger.
I'm talking right now.
So to continue with those notes, Han was going to die. Luke was going to show down with Vader, and then apparently exile himself. And Luke and Leia weren't related. This is also substantiated by Gary Kurtz, who was the producer on New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. He was not involved in Return of the Jedi. He didn't like the direction Lucas was going. And it was becoming a bit more toyetic, which is understandable.
I like that.
Pardon?
Is that a word? Toyetic?
Yeah, it is.
Even if it isn't, I kind of like it.
I'm not going to give you credit if it isn't, but I don't think it is.
It's something I've heard used a lot for other films.
It doesn't mean it's a real word.
They've used it to describe. They used it to describe Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, where the toy companies were involved in from the ground up. So apparently Luke was going to go into exile. So episode 7 was going to be the first part of the new trilogy with the story of Luke as a Jedi. Episode 8 would have featured Luke's sister, who was not Leia. And then episode 9 would introduce the Emperor and depict the final battle with the Emperor. So that's quite different than what we eventually got. And it's quite different from what Lucas has been revealed lately to be pitching. When Disney acquired the rights, they also did acquire some pitches or treatments from him for a sequel trilogy. What is known is, or what Lucas has shared, was Leia was going to be the huge focal point. There might not have been a Kylo Ren. The big bad would have been Darth Maul. And after the crumbling of the Empire, it would have been criminal organizations like really causing a lot of issues. And
Country Club. I'm really disappointed that the insult "tell that to Kanji Club" didn't catch on. It should have been a well-known retort. Instead of your mama jokes, it should have been "tell that to Kanji Club." Anyway, sorry, go on.
No. And what's kind of funny is you can see some of the groundwork for that show up in other Star Wars materials that have come out. Like Maul was brought back in the Clone Wars, so you also know that this wasn't made before that decision was made, because George Lucas, up until the Clone Wars, was like, no, Maul is dead. When people would try to pitch it for the expanded universe, it would only be in like the Star Wars Tales, which was their version of What If. Like Maul was dead until Clone Wars. And then when Rebels came out, Maul was doing some stuff with criminal organizations. That happened within Clone Wars, and especially we got that in the Solo movie.
That was badass.
Yeah, that was cool when he was in. Yeah.
Only reason a Solo Darth Maul.
It was cool, but I also that was like the most pointless reason to ignite a lightsaber ever.
Yeah,
you're just like, all right, we really got to hammer home that it's Darth Maul.
Yeah.
We just got to really specify.
He did not need to ignite that lightsaber at all.
Exactly.
It's like it was in the stipulation of making this movie that they had to turn on at least one lightsaber before the credits.
Well, yeah, I remember sitting in the theater like, you know what, there hasn't been one lightsaber in this movie. And then Maul at the end, like, oh, well, there we go.
I was just like, it's either that or them shoehorning him being angry at Kenobi for no reason. Just like, we will do this and get Kenobi.
Get Kenobi. Yes.
It's like, oh, okay, that's Darth Maul. So The other thing that would have been interesting, but gone completely, also gone against the expanded universe, but at this point they had decided the former EU was now out of continuity entirely, was Maul was going to have an apprentice, a popular character from the Star Wars Legacy comics, Darth Talon, who was a Twi'lek female Sith who had all the tattoos like Maul did.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen pictures of her. Yeah, she's cool.
Yeah, so it would have been
that assassin the Emperor used. What's her name?
Mara
Asajj
Jade?
Ventress?
Or Asajj Ventress.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be Ventress. That would have been a good apprentice.
Did she
That's
die?
natural.
She did die in a canon book. Yeah,
Oh,
in one of the new canon books, she did.
I'd like to see her in
she
live
didn't
action. That'd
die.
be cool.
So, right?
What was that, Tom?
In Clone Wars or Rebels, she didn't die though, right?
No, but new canon novel that's been released, she did die. Dooku killed her.
Oh, that's garbage.
Okay.
They got to write a way around that.
It was actually
Legends.
it was actually a good story though. That canon book, it involved Quaylen Voss, the Jedi who has the yellow highlight under his eyes, basically. If you look him up, he's another example of a character that just had a cool look, and the fans loved it, and the expanded universe was off and running. Where he was playing a double agent, and he was supposed to side with Asajj Ventress, and then he fell to the dark side, and then she saved him at the cost of her life, and that's what redeemed him. It was a good story. And it did tie up that loose end of, like, you have this powerful Force user out in the universe. Where are they? Like, why didn't they show up in any of the stuff? Like, that's the thing. That's so much of Star Wars now, because they're like, hey, the expanded universe is done. We got all these characters that we're saying are alive but don't show up in the original trilogy, so we got to space whale them out of here, or
Space whale.
That's another thing that's so exciting about The Mandalorian is that, I mean, it's almost guaranteed we're going to get an Ezra Bridger in Mandalorian as well.
And
Like,
I'm kind of off topic, but I don't like that. Not just because I don't like Ezra, but it should be about Mandalorian. It shouldn't be about Dave Filoni's characters from the other shows.
No, but what I'm saying, I mean, like, because he went off with Thrawn at the end of Rebels, and like nobody knows what happened to Thrawn or Bridger. Like, it's gonna have to be like Ahsoka meeting Thrawn, finding out what happened to Bridger, and like it's only gonna be like a cameo. Like, it's not gonna be a main part of Mandalorian. I think that's gonna be in Ahsoka's show when she gets hers. But they're gonna have to be like, she's on a mission to find Bridger, so they're gonna have to wrap that up. Or at least make sense to keep us going.
As long as the Mandalorian can still be the Mandalorian, I'm fine if it's also setting up the backdoor pilots to like the Ahsoka show or all that. As long as it doesn't negatively impact the show, then I'm good.
Agreed. I did just read something about a possible force sensitivity with Mando, and I really hope that's not the case. I don't want him to be force sensitive.
Yeah. Not everyone has to be a Jedi. Can we just have some non-Jedi people?
Although, I mean, like, the article did like talk about how it would be appropriate, like with him ending up with the dark saber and all of that, and being a Mandalorian Jedi. But that's not what I want from the show.
To try to get us back on track.
Yeah, we're kind of off track here.
We're talking stuff that isn't made yet, so it's still unmade as of now.
Back on track to the films. Out of those plans for the sequel trilogies, do either of them strike your fancy? Do any of them sound cool, or are you just kind of like, I'm fine that they didn't get made?
They sound cool.
I don't know about Maul being the main villain, but sorry, I interrupted you.
I was going to say that's the one part that I'm 100% behind. is Maul being the main big bad, and it being more focused on criminal organizations than the dark side of the Force sort of thing. But the rest of it, I'm just kind of like, eh. It's. I mean, it would have been in terms of like, uh, I guess Luke and Leia weren't related, like you said, in that trilogy, so maybe they would have been together. But I would have more preferred the introduction of what's her face from the Aftermath series.
I
Wife.
don't.
I can't remember her name, but he actually marries her and has a kid.
Mara Jade.
Yes, thank you, Mara Jade.
Is that Aftermath though? Because Aftermath is the canon stuff.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. It's
the New Jedi Order stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's Timothy Zahn, but I can't remember the name of it.
Heir to the Empire trilogy.
Yeah. That's. I mean, that would have been an interesting way to go about it. But yeah, the series, the sequels as you described them, I'm neither excited for or against them. I would have loved to have seen them, but I kind of dig the direction that they went as opposed to the direction that you just described.
That's fair. Mike, you were saying?
I don't remember what I was saying, but I don't remember what you had said either. But I'm going to tell you what I would have liked to have happened. Well, not exactly. Just like kind of where they started to go with the actual sequels we got, like the Next Generation. But I would have liked to have seen Luke actually have trained some Jedi.
Yeah.
And just like the next big problem, not necessarily Luke with two U's Skywalker that eventually happened in the novels, expanded universe, or all the Palpatine clones, but like
that
some
was
big
Heir to the
threat.
Empire, and then Dark Empire. They came out like the same year.
Yeah, like it would be cool if I think they did explore that in the expanded universe, like if Luke went to the dark side, even briefly. That kind of undoes a lot of character development, like a big thing from Return of the Jedi. But like Luke could have done the one thing I wanted for the sequels is to finally see Luke do some cool full-powered Force user. Luke has matured stuff, right? That's what I would want in the sequels. I mean, that's not really a story, but just like even to go with the whole Kylo thing, like to see Luke and Leia's kids, and the problems that they would have, like falls to the dark side, like we actually saw, but like executed a little better, like to actually see their fall or whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
The trilogy, the sequel trilogy would have been great if it had been centered on Kylo's fall, as opposed to Kylo had already fell. Like Mike's saying, like I want to go back and I want to see Luke training. I remember on WhatsApp when I brought that idea up.
Yeah.
Even if it's a limited series show, I want that. I want a little taste of what happened in the 30 years between Return and Force Awakens.
And that's exactly the problem, though, is that there has been 30 years, and we can't like go back and make Mark Hamill young again to have a post Jedi sequel trilogy, right? Like,
Sebastian Stan, good choice.
But it's not the same. It's not the same.
No, it's not the same.
I'm intrigued because I'm intrigued by that idea because of course I am, but I've been revisiting the old expanded universe a lot lately. And as I read that original idea for the sequel trilogy, where it's like the Emperor would be the villain for the 3, but you wouldn't actually meet him till episode 9, and then Luke being in exile, and that kind of thing. That's stuff that's in a expanded universe book series I'm listening to right now, and some of that stuff I'm like that'd be cool. So
which is kind of what I thought they were going to, at least the Luke part, is what they were going to do with the sequels. It's like Luke he failed, and we were going to have to deal, or he was going to have to deal with his failure, and we were going to see it. It could have been that could have been like an Oscar performance for Mark Hamill.
Oh
Like
yeah,
the pain and the anguish of having failed, knowing that he was the last hope of the galaxy and the last hope of the Jedi.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
but that was
finding
completely
his
brushed
soul.
over.
And then
But
just before we go on, I will say as well, like I'm kind of where Mike's coming from, where I do want to know this stuff, but where Star Wars is right now, outside of the Mandalorian and say the Kenobi show, like unless we're doing new stuff like the Ahsoka spinoff and all that, that stuff excites me. But a big reason is these are characters that have, with the exception of Obi-Wan, like open-ended endings. With Luke, we know what's going to happen. We know the new Jedi Order is going to fail. We know they're going to be destroyed. We know that Rey's going to take up that mantle. And it's an issue that Marvel's having in the comics as well, where it's just we're in this safe period. As much as I love the Darth Vader comics, at the same point, I'm like, I know where this story's going. I know where it ultimately ends. So I like them doing new stuff where right now the thing is, especially as I'm visiting the EU, I'm like, we're not gonna ever get what we fully wanted,
no,
which was Han, Leia, and Luke together again with Lando. Like even for that one shot, like not talking the whole movies, like you're doing most of the next genning, but them together, that time has passed.
yeah,
Like, and that desire, even if you somehow recreate it with Donald Glover, Sebastian Stan, and any of the actors or de-aging or whatever, it's not going to be the same. So at this point, it's like we missed our chance. Let's get into a newer direction.
yeah.
That being said,
Do
sorry.
something like say a Luke Skywalker miniseries where they show him rebuilding the temple and the fall of the temple and the rise of Kylo. There's a 30-year gap there, like where even if they're telling you something like you know the end of the story, there's so many things that they could introduce to you in that little miniseries in that 30-year gap that could open up new avenues for movies later on, like new characters, new locations. Even like okay, like so the fact that they're going to Tython on Mandalorian is wicked to me because it's part of my my D&D campaign, the
Right.
planet Tython and the ancient Jedi Temple. So like something like that's a brand new location that's really never been mentioned in Star Wars before, and it wouldn't have been had it not been for the Mandalorians. They could do something similar to that in like a Luke series. Maybe it has to do with holocrons. I don't know. Who knows what it has to do with? But they could introduce so many new things that could then build the next trilogy. You know what I mean? Or maybe just another show. Who knows? The point is, there's 30 years there. There's a lot of stuff that they could cover, and I want it. I want it so bad.
I think they got to figure out what they want before they keep
Yeah.
going, and that's an issue that they had. I think it's fair to say, like they didn't know what they were going to do. It was just like let's do everything, which leads to some other of these. So to carry on, some of these there aren't that much known about it, and in some way, shape, or form, these eventually did kind of happen through holiday specials or two made-for-TV movies or a cartoon show. There was a planned solo droid movie at one point.
Yeah.
Le-
You mean just the droids, not Han Solo and the droids?
yeah, no, just the
Okay.
droid. So let's see. The direct quote from Lucas.
That'd be great.
It would have been an R2 and C3PO movie. At the time, the idea didn't float. Lucas had said, as I was writing, I came up with some ideas for a film about robots with no humans in it. When the smoke cleared, I said, this is really great. I'll do another trilogy that takes place after this. Eventually,
All robots.
there was that droids cartoon.
Yeah.
There was a loose plan for a Wookiees movie with nothing but Wookiees.
The whole thing was subtitled. No, I don't think that would have been great.
So we did see some version of this.
Where can I find this droid cartoon? I didn't know there was a droid cartoon.
Oh, it was from the late
It's on
80s,
VHS.
early 90s.
It's got to be on the internet by now.
Oh yeah, it's on the internet.
Why is it not on Disney Plus? Come on, Star Wars.
There's
So
a
there
few
was
things they still haven't put up, like the Battle for Endor.
the Wookiee, the Ewok. Well, yeah, so the Wookiee movie partially happened in the notoriously infamous, terrible Star Wars holiday special, where the first like 20 minutes or half hour are Chewie and his family not subtitled, just growling at each other.
Yeah.
And then
On
some of
Life
the
Day. Yeah.
on Life Day, and then some of the concepts from the movie were put into the two made-for-TV Ewok movies. So I can't say I miss those.
Yeah, I completely forgot that there was made for TV movies. I'm gonna choose to continue to forget about them. So have this conversation without me.
Mike, what do you got?
I've never seen the Ewok or the Droid shows, and I'm really curious about them now. I don't think I'd be able to sit through them.
Yeah,
that's all I get.
To quickly plug Honest Trailers, at one point I think they did a Star Wars spin-off, Honest Trailers, where they talked about the two Ewok movies and the holiday special. They ripped them to shreds. Wilfred Brimley was in them.
Oh, wow.
And B. Arthur was in the Star Wars Christmas special.
She was, yes. What was the other Ewok movie called? There was Battle for Endor. What was the other one?
I can't remember. But yeah. So then, now we're back to some that did just never happened that had started to. You guys will remember right before, or seemingly right before the Disney acquisition of Star Wars. I was searching for the word. Thank you.
Yeah.
They had dropped plans to re-release the prequel trilogy, potentially the sequel trilogy later in 3D. They released The Phantom Menace in 3D, and then they were going to do Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, but they got canceled.
Yeah. They got canceled. I think they were going to do all 6 of them.
Yeah. And that, I'm a little bit disappointed that those didn't happen, just because give me any excuse to go see the original trilogy on the big screen.
Yeah.
I'm there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Had they actually done it, made them all 3D, I definitely would have paid the money and I probably actually would have gone to see them in 40x because I love those movies. Just imagine being like watching one of those dogfighting scenes in a moving seat. Like, come on.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
The battle from Return of the Jedi. Oh my gosh.
Fun. Oh yeah.
Yeah, the Battle for Endor would have been awesome.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were like, wait, are we releasing the Ewok movie?
No, the Battle of Endor, I should say. The Battle of Endor, not the Battle for Endor.
Space battle and Revenge of the Sith right at the beginning too. Like that would have been so 40x seat. But yeah, that would have been like such a waste of money for them to have done that. Like to have to do everything in 3. I don't think they ever would have recouped their money from that.
I imagine they might have, though, just even with especially with the original trilogy, because when it's been re-released, it's been such a limited theatrical run, and those ones have the best reception out of all the movies. And as we're learning, the prequel trilogy, it does have a devoted fan base, like kids who were younger who grew up with that. That is their Star Wars.
That's fair. I completely agree with that. I just think the amount of money it would take to convert like the original trilogy to 3D, I think it has to be an astronomical fee to do something like that.
It's not that expensive to do a 3D conversion. It's a few million. Because they just get they get low-paid Korean workers or Chinese workers. They don't pay them a lot. They just use underpaid migrant workers. Well, not even migrant because they're still in their home countries, but
yeah.
It doesn't say how much it cost, but the Phantom Menace re-release picked up $43 million in its 3D re-release.
Oh, I saw a kind of an analysis video a few years back of the cost benefit analysis of converting a movie to 3D. Like, why are all these current movies being converted to 3D? I'm not just talking about Star Wars. I mean, like every movie. And it costs, let's say, $30 million, and through the extra ticket cost of paying for a 3D movie, they were getting, say, $100 million back. So it was
Yeah,
worth it, right?
yeah.
Well, I stand corrected then. In that
And,
case, you get on it, man. Get on. Release them all in 3D. Once I get back.
I think Disney more and more is moving away from theaters. They want to just do Disney Plus. They announced a couple months back that they're not doing any more physical media. So no Blu-rays, nothing.
ah, dang.
And that
Well,
includes the Fox catalog that they purchased, which is not cool.
No.
That's not cool at all. They want everything
Um,
to be on Disney Plus or Hulu.
who knew?
well, yeah, I'm gonna have to get my hands on the Infinity Saga Blu-rays then before
Yeah.
they're all gone and become like $3,000 on eBay. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I gotta listen to this.
Bleep.
All right, so
It's the only game I've cursed, so don't worry.
to keep this going, there's a couple more, and then we'll move on to a very well-known one. So there was at one point a brief talk of Splinters of the Mind's Eye
Yeah.
becoming a movie. And for those that don't know, Splinter of the Mind's Eye is what kicked off the old expanded universe. It was the first novel released. It was written by Alan Dean Foster, who is also very well known for writing the 3 out of 4 of the Alien novel adaptations based on the movies. So, yeah, not much is known. It was looked at as something that could be done. It would have been smaller because it was smaller in scale than the others. They thought maybe we could do it, but eventually they just decided not to.
Any word of when they would have made this? Recently or years ago? Or
The loose bit that I'm gathering is years ago.
I see.
It could have been adapted into the sequel, but then they were moving forward with Empire, so it was just a very different direction.
Yeah.
So I'm actually not too familiar with Splinter of the Mind's Eye. So give me like a brief rundown.
Well,
Okay,
I have no idea what the story was. Absolutely no idea. I just know of it.
It follows Luke and Leia on a planet called Mimban as they search for the Kyber crystal, which at this time was considered to augment a Jedi's force powers. Eventually, Kyber crystals were what they put in lightsabers, and then in the new canon, they're still what they put in lightsabers. They're also what they put in the Death Star.
Yeah.
So less of a, hey, it augments their force powers, but some of the stuff there lasted, just got repurposed. At one point, this one's from Gary Kurtz, what we didn't get in the prequel trilogy. So Gary Kurtz told IGN the original prequels would have been about the Clone Wars and the formation of the Jedi Knights in the first place. That was supposed to be one of the keys of episode 1. It was going to show how the Jedi Knights came to be. So that's literally all we know about that.
Ah. Well,
I'm kind of glad it wasn't that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because
because the Jedi Knights were stated as being the guardians of peace and over 1,000 generations or whatever it was, right?
Yeah.
So like, you'd have episode 1 with the formation of the Jedi, and either they skip forward thousands of years to tell the Anakin story, or they completely disregard the whole 1,000 generation thing and just start the Jedi with Anakin's time.
Or there would have been a way to retcon that slightly. Like you could say that the Jedi Knights were the army, like the Jedi, you know what I mean? Like that's them being as generals. You know, they call them generals in the clone army. It could have been that a Jedi Knight was just the term for a Jedi who was in war. That would have been a terrible bit of retconning, but that's how you could have done it.
Yeah.
While still generations. Jedi Masters, and then a Knight is the one who fights. You know, and a Jedi Knight is the one who actually gets into the combat. I don't know. I'm glad they didn't do it either. It's a dumb idea, but there are workarounds.
Yeah, yeah, I'm glad that one didn't come to be. Yeah, I'm just glad that idea. I'm sure they could have tried to flesh it out in better ways that we can right now, but still, even what we got makes more sense. And then I'm also thinking about the rest of the old EU, how we got that answered in the old Tales of the Jedi comics, and then we got the excellent Knights of the Old Republic comics and games and all that, where that dealt with the formation and the early Jedi. Whereas the prequels are supposed to be about Darth Vader becoming Darth Vader, not how the Jedi formed. So that might be. Oh, I forgot. Josh Trank was
right.
do a solo movie.
He got fired so hard.
Oh yeah, listener, if you don't remember who Josh Trank is, he did a movie that I can't remember that was well received, a small movie, and then he did Fanforstic, where I am begging for a documentary about how that movie fell apart, because that would be so much more interesting than the movie we got.
I want to see the Trank cut of Fantastic Four. Well, the Snyder cut. What about the Trank cut of Fantastic Four?
That one does not exist. Like everything about Fanforstic, maybe we could do that as an Unmade episode, like the original Fanforstic. He was promised stuff that got quickly cut away, and then it's a study of how a human being just spirals out of control.
Yeah, there needs to be a documentary on that for sure.
Oh my goodness. So what is known about it is he was going to direct a solo movie.
I think he was going to do Boba Fett, wasn't he?
That was the heavy rumor. It never got confirmed.
Yeah.
And this was around the time that Phil Lord and Chris Miller were still doing the solo Star Wars movie. Back when the anthology movies were going to be a thing. There were so many rumored anthology movies that we never got because of reasons.
I go back to them at some point. I think like they oversaturated the market too quickly and like had to take a step back. But I think they'll come back around to the anthologies.
I think they will with Disney Plus series, even if they're miniseries.
Yeah, I think that's where it's going to happen.
Miniseries, sure, but I do see like they like say the Mandalorian being a stepping stone for movies as opposed to shows too. I don't think they should do too many shows. You know what I mean? Like we're gonna have an Obi-Wan show, we're gonna have a Boba Fett show most likely, plus the Mandalorian and Ahsoka. I mean, some of these have got to be movies and not shows.
Well, with some of them, there's also plans for animation. I've read an article or two, but I can't cite it as fact. Disney Plus's plans going forward would also be a tiered system of paying. So everything that we get, if you're on the premium tier, everything that gets released in theaters, you'd automatically get. So it'd be like a current tier, a mid tier, and then the premium.
Yeah.
So that is it for at least the ones that I can find. Yeah.
Well, there's also the Obi-Wan series, which we kind of touched on, or not series, movie. We kind of touched on. And there's James Mangold's Boba Fett movie that got canceled.
Right. I'm so sorry,
which
Mike.
would have been interesting because James Mangold, the director of Kate and Leopold, and Walk the Line, and The Wolverine, and Logan, he was going to do the Boba Fett movie.
Can we just pause for a second and look at the differences? Kate and Leopold to Logan.
I'll have Hugh Jackman.
Well, that's also like fair, but that's also like when you look at Robert Rodriguez, who goes from like Sin City to the
Shark Boy and Lava Girl and Spy Kids
and the Spy Kids movies. Or the most recent episode of Mandalorian.
Yes. He has a range, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so there was that. There was also talk of a Yoda movie. like an
Oh
origin,
yeah,
I guess, which I was very opposed to and
yeah.
still am. I don't want to know Yoda's backstory. He
No,
must
Yeah.
remain a mystery.
yeah.
Like I
I,
hope we never find out what species he is.
Now,
yeah.
if you tell me we're gonna give us a Yaddle movie, I'm in spades, man.
That would be cool. I want to know what happened with it. Actually, I learned the other day she took a bomb for Anakin in one of the
That was
novels.
in
It's
the
not canon though.
Yeah, that was the old EU.
Yeah.
And then in the current Vader comics, he had a or not a hallucination, but a mind thing where he
Oh,
killed
mine.
her and a bunch of other Jedi.
A vision, a memory. Which word are you looking for here?
Might have been a vision, but he wasn't in his armor. Like it was just
I
this.
see.
I'll say a mind quest, a
Okay.
Sith mind quest.
Whatever that means.
um, yeah. So like officially, we don't know what happened to Yaddle. So
She
give us
just
that.
disappeared between 1 and 2. I want to know what happened to her.
Just give us that Yaddle movie, Disney. Like that would light the box office on fire.
Oh yeah, I heard a really bad fan theory. Well, actually, I knew they were getting to this. They didn't actually say it because I mean they probably did by the end, but I cut the video short. Is that Baby Yoda is Yoda and Yaddle's son? Like no,
Yeah.
no.
I had to cut that short as well. But I mean, there was one interesting part of that I thought could be slightly believable. And it's not the Yaddle and Yoda having this child thing, but that Yaddle might have left the council to protect Grogu. That's an interesting theory.
That would be okay.
What-
That would be.
What's the opposition to this? Out of all the crazy Star Wars series, that one makes the most sense.
But the problem with the idea of her leaving the council to protect Baby Yoda, Grogu, whatever you want to call him, the child, is that she left between 1 and 2,
Right.
and Grogu would have needed protection in the events of 3. So why did she leave so early? Did she have like this vision years before, and she like just hover parented Grogu for all these years? Like,
So Grogu.
She could have had a vision. I mean, Yoda's able to see the future in flashes, so there's no reason why Yaddle might not be.
but
just
then
as
why
powerful.
didn't she say, "Hey, Order 66 is going to happen"?
Maybe she didn't know what was going to happen, but she knew Grogu was going to be in danger. I don't know.
This is all
I'm just saying.
I'll just go on the record saying I don't have a problem with Yoda and Yaddle having a child. That to me makes sense. We've only seen 2 of their species in the entire saga.
It makes sense, but I think it also like it kind of minimizes or like it miniaturizes their species. Like it's like, oh, because there's a guy and a girl, they have to have a baby. It couldn't just be somebody else's kid. Like it kind of
Could be. It
seems
no,
like
no.
it's too on the nose. You know,
the supporting theory I heard they explain this, and because Jedi are celibate, is canonically Ki-Adi-Mundi, he was granted an exception to because his species were dying. He was allowed to take on several families and reproduce.
Yeah.
And so it's the same thing with Yoda's species. I don't like it. I just like it.
The other thing could be like if they wanted to say she was his mom, she could have been pregnant for those 10 years. He's a child and he's 50.
Yeah.
These are things that live to 900 years old.
and the thing with that is I guess actually, yeah, between 1 and 2 that would make sense because Anakin grew up about 10, 15 years, I think, in between that, didn't he?
I think they said it was 10 years. I'm not 100% for it, but I don't hate the idea.
Because she would have already had Grogu in Phantom Menace, based on
You would have been like 30 in the Phantom Menace. No, he wouldn't have been that old.
No, because he went. Yeah,
10
we're looking at 20 years. He would have been like 10, yeah.
Because A New Hope takes place 30 years after Revenge of the Sith, and Phantom Menace takes place 10 years.
No, I think it's like 18 years after Revenge of the Sith, because Luke is supposed to be 18.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. No, A New Hope.
Yeah.
A New Hope
between
is whatever.
Let's just round up to 20. So 20 years
Yeah.
and then another 10, so 30. So yeah, he'd be like 30 years old.
Oh yeah, sorry. Phantom Menace is 30 years, not Revenge of the Sith. That's my bad.
Yeah, that's correct.
We're really off track.
We really are. We're into just plain old discussion, not unmade stuff. We're trying to work out when Grogu was born, and it seems like it's a very simple calculation, but for some reason we can't figure it out.
This is how those Star Wars videos happen, man.
All we need to do is take his current age in Mandalorian, 50, subtract the 18, or let's say 25 years if you're distancing between A New Hope and Return of the Jedi. What is it, like 3 years between them?
3
or 4
years.
years?
Yeah.
So,
oh no, I think it's 5.
So let's say 5 years. He's 45 at the beginning of A New Hope. Let's say that.
Right.
And then subtract 20. He's 25 at the end of Revenge of the Sith. And then subtract. Was it about 13 years between A New Hope? I mean, between the end of Revenge of the Sith and the beginning of Attack of the Clones.
He's like 5 years old.
Yeah, he's like 5 or 10 years old. Let's just anyway.
We're trying to figure out the opposite. With Unmade, we're looking at things that weren't made. In this case, we're trying to figure out.
We're trying to make things.
When was Grogu made? We need to know. Okay, so
it's about 19 years old in the Phantom Menace. That's by my calculation.
Would gestated in the stomach, or would Yaddle have laid an egg? That's
what I was thinking. Do they lay eggs? I don't know.
Well, I don't know though, because we saw him eat eggs. So, okay, nope, that's opening questions we don't need.
Maybe when they're born, they eat the other eggs.
Well, like I was going to say, is that why his species is endangered?
Born strong survive.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Anyway.
I feel like we could write what ifs now. Out of these unmade stories, as opposed to like when I did Spider-Man with Steve or Batman with Mike, there's not many of these where I'm like, oh yeah, I want that. Because the ones that most of these we've kind of gotten in some way, shape, or form. And what we've got
taken elements of them and put into what we got.
Yeah, and some of them were either better than they were, or they were atrocious and notoriously bad, and had Wilfred Brimley for reasons.
And his diabetes.
His diabetes. Or they got
abandoned.
The movie got abandoned, and we're getting a mini series instead, which Star Wars shows are all really good. To varying degrees, they're all good. I have yet to see a really bad Star Wars show. That's one that we could loosely talk about. I just don't know much. Is at one point after the prequels, they were looking at doing, I think it was going to be called Underworld, and it was going to be a Star Wars live action show.
Yeah,
and that went nowhere.
Either it was the pilot or like some test footage hit the internet, I think, earlier this year or last year. And it was kind of like in Rogue One, the Cassian Andor, like the beginning of when he has to escape the stormtroopers and he shoots his friend, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was all kind of like the sub levels of Coruscant kind of thing. Like it was
nice.
the mean streets, and it was interesting.
Yeah.
I wonder if we'll see like a Deadpool sort of thing happen now. Like now that the test footage is out, people are gonna like be like, "We want this," and then Disney's gonna have to make it.
Well, I feel like we would have heard something already because it's been out some time.
And we're getting that mean street itch scratched with Mandalorian.
And there's going to be a Cassian Andor show as well,
where he's going to do shady things and murder people because that's what he does. All right, so any thoughts before we're going to take a quick break in a minute, but before we do, any final thoughts?
Well, the project that I am most disappointed for is actually one that we did not mention, and that's the Old Republic.
Old Republic.
The Old Republic trilogy that was going to be made by Weiss and Benioff.
Oh yeah, right, yeah.
Right. So
they were going to do And then, I mean, there's still unsubstantiated rumors that the Old Republic is an avenue that they're going to explore.
Well, aren't they kind of doing that through the High Republic story territory, because it's supposed to be what was the Old Republic?
I mean, I think so. I'm not sure if that's gonna go the same vein that Weiss and Benioff were gonna go, but I mean, I'm excited for it either way. I want to see what happens.
Right.
But yeah, Weiss and Benioff, they were gonna do the Knights of the Old Republic story. Like they were gonna do Darth Revan and stuff. So that,
Right.
I mean, I'm very excited that's not gonna happen. At least not right now. Maybe it'll happen in the future. It better happen in the future. But yeah, that's what I'm most disappointed for. I really wanted to see the Knights of the Old Republic trilogy.
And I'm not saying I'm disappointed, but there's also the Unmade Rian Johnson trilogy, which is both unmade and yet uncancelled. Yeah. So it's still possible, but I feel like Lucasfilm is kind of looking at what happened with the backlash from Episode 8 and saying, maybe we won't do it, but we're not going to tell him. Like that kind of thing. We're just going to keep stringing him along until he moves on.
I've heard so many rumors about that trilogy, though, and like what his story was going to be, that I'm kind of glad it hasn't happened, and I hope it gets canceled. Like there was talk about some sort of, and this is not the direct quote, but this is the best way to liken it. Some sort of like multiple / mirror sort of universe where like he was gonna it was gonna be from a different galaxy. They were gonna be Force users, but they weren't gonna call it the Force. They were gonna be a lot more barbarian like and using like handheld weapons instead of blasters. It sounded awful, absolutely awful. Like it was ruined.
I need a source.
That sounds like something they did in the expanded universe. There was the New Jedi Order series of novels that started, I think, around 99, which introduced not extragalactic, but from outside the Star Wars galaxy, from beyond the unknown regions, the Yuzong Vong, which was a species that had been cut off from the Force, but they were almost immune to it at the same time. They couldn't be sensed in the Force. And they have a mixed reception within the fan community, but I like them, and I also like the idea of what they represent necessarily more than the full-on execution, because they were the ones that got us outside of the Star Wars cycle of, all right, the Sith are back and the Jedi are almost going extinct, and it's the Empire and the Rebellion. It's, here's this thing that wrecks everything. I'm still kind of interested in a Rian Johnson trilogy, especially after seeing Knives Out, where if he does it from the ground up and it's not just the case of let's throw everything out from the last one to subvert expectation, and then the third one's got to throw everything out from that one. Like if he's doing it from the ground up, I'm interested. He's got an interesting voice and he's a talented filmmaker.
Well, that's the thing with Rian Johnson.
Was what it was.
He kind of ruined his reputation with The Last Jedi. Like he's a good filmmaker. He can write a good movie and direct a good movie, but just keep him away from Star Wars. Like he obviously did not respect the material, or he respected it, in his mind at least, too much, that he viewed everything that came in Episode 7 as not Star Wars. I don't know.
I personally also look more at, not to throw her under the bus, but Kathleen Kennedy and the Lucasfilm board as more responsible than Rian Johnson, because at the end of the day, they were the ones who were like, hey, we really like where you're going with this. Let's let you throw out everything that we had planned for Episode 2 so you can do your own thing. Like if they had said no, but we still want you, it would have been different. I'm still curious what his would have been from the ground up.
It's kind of the same thing. Like both Lucasfilm and Marvel, they have their directors, but they have to follow the rules. That the committee has set out. Whether, I don't know how much of a committee there is with Marvel, maybe just be Feige and like a couple others, but with with Lucasfilm, they have that story team, right?
Yeah.
And each and every one of them fails collectively and individually.
Oh, and I guess this is a technically unmade one because it was a kind of announced, but it was never given a time when it would happen. But it was announced, I think, late last year that Kevin Feige is going to be doing a Star Wars movie. Color me interested because
me too. Yeah,
that guy I think has, as someone who's like spearheading overall the MCU, like the guy's got a great grasp on vision and execution. I'm very curious to see where he's going to go for something that's not yet made. I'm on board. We'll see what happens when it eventually gets made, but yeah.
When and if, yeah.
All right, I think that's a good time. So, listener, we're going to take a quick break and get a word from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Stereo Mike, your source for vintage and modern stereo receivers, tuners, reel-to-reel tape decks, new and used vinyl records, and more. Vinyl is back in a big way. Do you need a turntable to spin it on? Or a quality, warm-sounding vintage stereo receiver to match? Stereo Mike is your guy. Marantz, Pioneer, Sony, Dual, I've got them all. Cleaned up, upgraded, and ready to pump out gorgeous sound for another 40 years. I also supply I also supply Canadians and Americans alike with the rare, beautiful, and collectible vinyl records released by Mondo Records, as well as imported Studio Ghibli soundtracks straight from Japan. Give me a shout at mike@stereomike.ca. Let me know what you're looking for, and I will set you up with something you will love the sound and look of. Back to you, Chris.
Okay, and we're back. Thank you, Stereo Mike, for sponsoring today's episode and adding in that wonderful advertisement. So, dear listener, if any of those needs are of interest to you or anything like that, please hit up Stereo Mike. The quality is there. All right, so gentlemen, we are now at what is probably the most well-known unmade Star Wars movie, because it has gotten the most traction of any of these. And Mike, I'm going to turn this over to you, just because you have more information about it than I do, because you actually read about this or re-listened to a video. So, listener, at one point before J.J. Abrams came back to do Episode 9, there was going to be 3 different directors for the Star Wars sequel trilogy. J.J. Abrams doing Episode 7. Episode 8 was Rian Johnson, and Episode 9 was Colin Trevorrow, aka Mr. Jurassic World. He and Spielberg are overseeing that universe and also trying to turn it around from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. He was going to do Episode 9, and his take was going to be called Duel of the Fates. And I'll hand it over to Mike.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no expert in this, and admittedly, I've read and seen videos that I guess all really come from the same source. So if that primary source is flawed, then it trickles down to incorrectness. But anyway, there was a script that leaked, I guess, earlier this year. It was Trevorrow and whoever his writing partner was, their Duel of the Fates, Episode 9, and by the sounds of it, it was a better movie than what we got for Rise of Skywalker. It completed arcs and tied up loose ends, and it continued things that were set up in Episode 7, and it had character development, and it didn't abandon Finn to just being, I don't know, the token black guy or whatever he was. It actually took his potential and used it, and it had a darker tone, at least by the sounds of it, not in a Tarantino-esque dark Knight darker tone, but it was serious, let's say, not dark and disturbing. Yes, and yeah, it would have like I said, there were arcs. Like Finn would have had become what he should have been. He would have had an arc that started as the stormtrooper in in Force Awakens, and he would have come, I guess, full circle. I don't know what that would have been. He would have completed an arc in Episode 9 of becoming a general, in essence, and defeating the First Order that he once was, well, not that he signed up for, but what he was recruited by or stolen into.
Yeah.
Rey would have had some interesting battles with the dark side, and she wouldn't have had her lineage. It wouldn't have been so kind of shoehorned in there and like, what? She would have just been Rey. She would have had a last name, Saldana, I think it was, would have been revealed.
So not Mundi, not Ray Mundi.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
She's Yaddle's child.
She's Yaddle's child, yeah.
Of all the curveballs.
That's where she went. Yeah. She died in childbirth because she had to give birth to a regular-sized baby. She just exploded and Ray came out. That would have been the funniest flashback ever.
And they include, like, they do a full animation, like, what is this?
That is so funny. But, like, okay, so the movie would have started off a lot like Return of the Jedi. It would have had a bit of a time jump. And, like in Return of the Jedi, where we left off with Luke, like, he wasn't, like, at that, he hadn't reached peak Jedi or full Jedi. He wasn't a knight yet. Where Duel of the Fates would have started off with that time jump, however short it would have been. Like, the First Order would have taken over. They would have had an oppressive rule on the galaxy like we hadn't seen previously. It would have been even more entrenched. And Rey would have started the movie with a double-ended lightsaber, like I think we were all waiting for.
Yeah.
And she would have been like peak, like Luke's equivalent in Return of the Jedi. Like, she would have been at full Jedi power. And like, Rose would have been used better. She would have actually been a character with some intelligence. What else would there have been? Kylo Ren would have. It turned out that the rain flashback that was in Force Awakens, where they're in the rain. There's the Knights of Ren. That was when Kylo killed Rey's parents, which would have been cool.
That would have been badass.
Yeah, and there would have been a cool thing throughout with the ghost of Luke, like taunting Kylo, like just haunting him and saying like, "You're a failure. You'll never be as good as Vader." And at one point, Kylo takes a swipe at him with his lightsaber, and Luke just catches the lightsaber blade.
Force Ghost? Cool. So cool.
That would have been cool. It would have been even cooler if like living Luke did that.
Yeah.
We should have seen Luke as the most powerful Jedi ever.
Yeah.
But whatever.
We also had so many years of. We had so many years of books and comics where Luke was like insanely overpowered.
Yeah, I'm not talking about
Grandmaster Luke Skywalker.
Like, doing some cool stuff would have been awesome.
Well, I don't even mean that bad. Like, I loved reading how insanely powerful Luke was. I'm like, I want to see that. Sorry.
Go. No, I agree. Like, yeah, it could get ridiculous with how overpowered he could be, but like, we should have seen something really cool. Not just like force projection. Like, if that's the height of his coolness, they failed.
If Kylo Ren can stop a blaster bolt in midair with the Force, like he does in Force Awakens, like Luke should have been doing crazy stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That actually was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen Force used for, was stopping that blaster bolt like that. Like, I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly. That was a cool. Yeah, it was so cool. It was at the beginning of the movie. Like, where can we go from here?
Yeah, they
Um,
don't
I'll go
for the
on the
reason that
record again. I don't care.
okay, somebody
I'll go.
talk because both your internet connections are dying.
I'll go. I'll go on the record and say again. I don't care how ridiculous it would have been. I would have lost my mind. It was just like force chucking the AT-ATs at Kylo Ren or the big walkers. I would have been like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
that's what
yeah.
I was just thinking. Like in Last Jedi, when Luke stares down the walkers, he should have like they should have shot at him, and he should have maybe not done the brush off shoulder thing, but he should have just like taken it with the Force, and then he should have just like crushed the walkers with minimal effort. That would have
one
been
hit.
awesome. Yeah,
Oh
like what,
yeah, so cool.
or like just
So, like,
move them into
with
each
him,
other, something.
like knowing that he was a projection there, that would have been even more amazing because I was like, not only is he powerful enough to crush it, but he's powerful enough to crush it as a projection. He's not even there.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, that would.
I didn't like the whole projection thing. I thought that was
Yeah, I
very
didn't
cool.
like that. I didn't like that. No, no, no.
Uh,
Um,
Sacrifice. Like I think him like becoming one with the Force was really cool, but that should have happened in person as opposed to as a projection. But,
or in episode 9.
yeah,
There was still
yeah.
so much
yeah.
Luke to Luke.
Yeah.
um,
I think we. Hello.
yeah, you are frozen, my friend.
Hello.
You're
Yeah,
frozen.
hello.
Hello.
Turn off your video. Your Wi-Fi can't handle it.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Uh, oh wait, but will it stop recording?
I don't know. I'm not Skype.
Let's
You're just turning
let's
off.
find out.
The
Oh no, it's still recording.
Well, that's good. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
What else was there in the script? Like there would have been Lando was in it still, but he was like not a drunkard, but he was like kind of disillusioned where they go to meet him at I don't know if it was Canto Bight or what, but they go and meet him and like you must join the revolution. And he was like, we defeated the Empire once before. What good did that do? And he's so like disillusioned with the whole fighting. Like it's over. I'm not going to fight anymore, which would have been
That's
cool.
the cool thing about it. Yeah.
And then like there are some things that they did use in the actual episode 9 we got. Like the armada of everyone from the galaxy shows up at the end, but it just
Yeah.
seemed better in the original version in Duel of the Fates. Um, and like I said earlier, Finn is a general, but he's like he knows what he's doing. Like he inspires people throughout the movie. Like there's one point where a First Order stormtrooper is knocked out or something, and Finn like shows him the way. He's like, "You want to get rid of this? First, you take a name, then you rise up." Like he gives an inspirational speech really quick, and later on, that stormtrooper joins the Resistance. Like
That's
just
Nice.
these little things to like flesh out the characters, you know.
yeah.
Um, and
Because I mean, you're right. You hit the nail on the head
And
when
I lost
Finn
you.
is basically just a token character.
yeah, and like Leia had some. I mean, obviously this couldn't have happened because Carrie Fisher died, but Leia had some. She did more than what she did in Rise of Skywalker for obvious reasons, because you can write anything,
Yeah.
but you can't necessarily show it when someone's dead. But like she would have been
Yep.
like the leader of the Republic, um, and more of a like an inspiration. It would have been kind of her movie. Um, Han would have still showed up as a an apparition. I don't know if he would have. We're not going to say Force Ghost because he wasn't one with the Force, but he still would have haunted Kylo through the movie. Um, yeah. Oh, Kylo would have had a fight scene with Vader's ghost,
Yeah,
or
that would have been
like in
sick.
the Empire cave. That scene, kind of like that, but it would have been like
Really cool.
serious. It would have been an end battle still with Kylo and Rey, um, and like it would have been like for something. Like Rey would have been blinded, and both Kylo and Rey would have died in that battle, but then, well, this is kind of cheesy when I say it, but Rey would have gone to like Force Heaven and met Obi-Wan and Yoda, and they would have given her the choice to stay one with the Force or to go back to the land of the living, or whatever you want to call it. And it's kind of left ambiguous what happens until later when she does come back, and I don't remember how it ends, but she comes back at the end, and I don't know, maybe like goes to start the new Jedi Order or something. I don't remember. But there would have been a romantic thing with Poe and Rey, which would have been interesting.
I always got the impression that there was a thing between Finn and Poe that was going unspoken, but that's me.
People have said that. I never got that, but
Yeah.
honestly, my gaydar has never been very good.
They just had like such a great romance. Like I really dug how close they got, like how excited Poe was to see that Finn survived and vice versa.
Like just friends. Doesn't mean
Yeah,
they have to be in love.
true.
That's-
I'm not. I agree with that, but it seemed like there may have been in Force Awakens that there may have been some lingering, like maybe that was the direction that they were going to go, and then they just didn't. It was interesting though. I mean, the same could be said between Ray and Finn though too. Like Finn just seemed to kind of click with everybody.
Yeah. We would have seen another thing is we would have seen
He's
Poe
such a likable
prove his. What's that?
Finn was just such a likable dude.
That's right. You know, in Force Awakens when Poe says I can fly anything, we would have seen that in Duel of the Fates. He steals a Star Destroyer and flies that. That would have been cool. I think that's after Rose like hotwires it in like a Star Wars fashion. They hotwire Star Destroyer. That's fun.
BB-8 is doing something in that. Like BB-8's probably in there, like with his little thing in the thing.
Well,
his little thing in the thing.
Poe, that would get Poe back to being the hotshot pilot, like Han Solo-esque type they introduced him as in The Force Awakens.
And then when they made him a general, that would have been like so much more. Like it'd have been like you stole a Star Destroyer for us. Yes, you're a general.
Want to be admiral? Be an admiral. I don't care.
A Star Destroyer, dude.
You're the leader of our
That would be cool. Like Akbar's son is like, you know what? That's pretty cool. I'm gonna make you the new admiral. He's so chill. Imagine Akbar's son being so chill. Like, yo, man, you're cool. I'm gonna make you an admiral.
It's not a trap. You're leading our army.
You know what? This is not a trap. That was the best callback.
So that one's something I'd love to see in animated form. It's also got me thinking, like, not much has been released about it. I'm really curious what the original plan for episode 8 was going to be.
Yeah. Wait, was it always... Yeah, I'm really curious. Did they at one point have an actual 3-movie arc worked out? Or did they just say to the 3 of them, you know, just write your movie and we'll figure it out?
From my limited understanding, there was at least a story outline for each one. So there was some carry through.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, I thought it was a very loose outline.
Yeah, which explains like why in Rise of Skywalker being what it was, they were just like, all right, we got to retcon everything because it got retconned in the last one. Yeah.
One thing that I've been thinking about recently, in terms of that, like whether they had an overarching story or like they were just kind of doing their own thing. Like as much crap as and rightfully so, Johnson gets for Last Jedi. And I've turned around a bit on Last Jedi. Actually, I've watched it a few more times, and I enjoy it. It's not the movie I wanted, but I enjoy it.
I can't do it.
I'm wondering though, is because like they clearly Marvel has no issue getting rid of a director who's not doing the story that they want. Um, Johnson obviously was following what they wanted if they kept him around.
So what I've some releases that I've read, and I've read it from more than one, so that's why I tend to think it's true. Johnson, when he came on, at first it was going to be the planned story, but then they were really interested in the stuff he was pitching and his skills so much that then they were like, yeah, you can just do this. Like, you can, like, they were convinced by him, like, you could do what you want. Which is the bad thing to do in the middle chapter of a trilogy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it's a solo film, sure, why not? Or if it's a standalone, or
his ideas have been like, we love your ideas. We're going to give you your own movie after this.
Yeah,
and you can do all of that. You can do all of that later. For now, our story.
The Last Jedi as a movie is well made, but it doesn't. That it ignores the previous film or all the previous films, and like its themes, and it just forgets about characters and their arcs and their traits. I mean, that's what's bad. But it did have some good concepts, like when Luke says the Force doesn't belong to the Jedi. That's something interesting, and how like he talks about how dogmatic the Jedi were, and that's why they failed. That's interesting. Like there's that scene where Luke says that when they're in like that stone garden or whatever it was after Rey didn't refuse to reject the dark side or something like that, and Luke does a little bit of a ramble. That's a good part of the movie. And like that's another thing. Where Duel of the Fates, it acknowledges stuff from Force Awakens and kind of ties up those ends, but also it took stuff from Last Jedi and kind of expanded on that. Like Rey embraces both the light and the dark to make kind of a balanced Force use. And she says, this is the way to do it. I can't be dogmatic. I can't just deny one. I'm going to use both and be like a gray Jedi kind of thing. And that's what allows her to finally like break the bonds of what made the Jedi fail.
Right.
Which again would have tied up the whole series, really.
Well, everything would have made so much more sense.
Well, that reminds me a little bit of a concept from like the final book from the old expanded universe, where at the end of it, Luke and Leia are kind of wrestling with stuff where they're like, we've kind of learned like balance isn't just like, oh, there's the light, like it's the light side keeping the dark side in check. Like the light side and the dark side keep the Force in balance. It's like both are needed. It's not just one or the other.
Yes.
And
I think that was a concept that was explored in Duel of the Fates a little bit.
Yeah. And looking at how the Jedi collapsed was something that they did so well in the Clone Wars show.
Yeah, that's what I was just getting at too. Like when Yoda had to travel. Well, not even before Yoda had to travel to I can't remember the name of the place he went to now.
They renamed it to Moraband, but it was originally Korriban. Yeah.
There's even like scenes before that with Anakin, or not scenes, but like episodes before that with Anakin and dealing with the light and the I can't remember the characters he faced.
The ones.
But, yes, thank you. Where they dealt with that whole balance of the Force, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. Like, the Clone Wars did a really good job of that. Clone Wars did a really good job of everything.
Yeah.
And another thing is in the Duel of the Fates, they were going to go to Mortis and like experience the Force there. I think that's where the final battle between Rey and Kylo takes place.
Nice.
Kylo went there to like learn the secrets, or like to get some, not a MacGuffin, but he was going to access some Force secret, and it like I don't know, something happened. But anyway, the thing is they went to Mortis, which would have been cool. right?
Yeah. Nice.
Yes.
That one I would definitely be interested in if they ever released like an animation of it. Like I enjoy the sequel trilogy characters, and I've said in the WhatsApp chat, like I'd love to see them and their stories get carried on, but unencumbered by the mess that the sequels were, where they're like, we got to tie everything together from like 6 other movies and the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy and all that. Like, just let Rey stand on her own 2 feet. And Finn and Poe, like, let them be their own things. Like, if you could do the smaller scale anthology stuff or something like The Spirit of the Mandalorian, but with these characters, I'm all on board. Separated from what we got.
I am too. I just think that, I mean, like, in terms of not having it connected, I mean, it'd be so difficult to accomplish. I think just based like you said, if you could remove all the stuff, the connections to the trilogy, and do it, it'd be great. But I just don't think you can. Like, there'd always be like,
you can't, because it's in the Star Wars continuity. It's like it's an episode, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no.
Like, as long as it has that episode moniker, it has to tie in with the other ones.
What I mean by that is, like, not pretend it doesn't exist, but like, okay, we've done the Skywalker saga. That was episode 1 through 9. Now episode 10, 11, 12, or going forward, it's with these characters that we've been introduced to, but it doesn't have to be. The story is so bogged down with everything from 1 through 9. It's 1 through 9 happened. We are using these established characters, but now we're taking them off to this new frontier.
Yeah, that would be okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to tie into Anakin and Palpatine and all
exactly,
that. There could be like
things
that reference what has come before, but it doesn't need to rely on those.
It's happened, but it's not like, hey, let's reference every bloody thing that.
Yeah, it's not the driving force anymore.
Yeah. It's all right. Now let's get to some new territory, which maybe this should have done.
I mean, the idea of having an invading force from another galaxy, that is pretty cool.
Yeah. I like the Yuzhong Vong a lot. At least what they represent. Maybe not fully in the execution, but. So, gentlemen, as we wrap this up, is there a story, be it an old book or a video game, that this one isn't like what didn't get made that even got to some kind of stage? Is there a story or an era that hasn't been made that would be like your utmost desire?
Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire. Bounty Hunters and Prince Shizor and
Dash Rendar.
Dash Rendar, that's his name. I always call him Kyle Katran, but that's the other guy.
Yeah, who later became a Jedi.
Yeah, just like that's one thing that was sorely missing from the sequels is Hutts. I want to see more Hutts.
Yeah.
I want to see some gangster stuff.
I think the Clone Wars movie gave people enough Hutts. They were like, "There's a Hutt baby that they're looking after. Why is this the thing?"
I want the fallout from Jabba being killed. I want his father vowing revenge. His father's Zorba the Hutt. I don't know if that's canon anymore, but his father's name was Zorba the Hutt.
Probably not. At this point, it would be Jabba's son vowing revenge.
Yeah.
I mean,
Tom,
that'd be pretty cool too. The Jedi save him, and then the Jedi also are responsible for his father's death. Like that'd be really cool. I'd like to see a Darth Maul origin, like him as a child, like Palpatine finding him, turning him into his apprentice. That would be really cool, because like their planet is also fascinating, like their entire culture.
Or a Palpatine origin would be cool. I want to see, like they made the Plagueis novel.
Just do the Plagueis novel.
Yeah, they made that non-canon, but like, do it again.
That wasn't at you. That was just like, that book was so good.
Yeah, like it would be a very interesting movie.
Yeah.
I'd also like to see. I mean, like I've said this many times before, but like a Vader miniseries where he goes after Order 66, he goes hunting down the rest of the Jedi
Yeah, a
and like
Jedi Purge series would be cool.
Yeah.
training his secret apprentice. He's got the Inquisitors hunting people like that. It would be just such a fascinating. Like again, there's no stakes because we know what happens, but at the same, there are some stakes because there's a lot of Jedi that we don't know what happened to them after Order 66, the ones that survived, and like there's clearly not a lot of them left when Luke's around, so he slaughtered a lot of them. I want to see that.
Yeah. No. Well, and a Vader show like that's a way you could do that where you're like, I know what ultimately happens to Vader, but
Yeah.
I want to see how he murders so many people.
I want to see
Rogue
a
One
TV
hallway
series
scene.
chocked full of murder.
Like, I want that
Stewart-
Rogue One hallway sequence
Vader-
for 5 hours.
I can't remember the name of the book, but there's one book in particular I was listening to where like Palpatine and Vader are just going off on people together. Like it talks about actually fighting, and I'm just like, yes, I would love to see Palpatine and Vader sort of like back to. I mean, obviously I'm adding some comedy to it, but like Vader and Palpatine back to back, like Charlie's Angel style, lightning
Rotation shot.
Palpatine's hands. Vader's choking some guy with one hand and his lightsaber slashing down another guy with the other. Like that would be so cool.
Oh my gosh. The most like stereotypical action movie shots, but with these characters
Slow-mo shots.
who've been treated so grandiose. Like
It's a random explosion for no reason. A Michael Bay Star Wars movie.
Oh my gosh. It's terrible, but I'd also kind of be down. Like on paper, I'm just like, I know this would go poorly, but this also sounds potentially ridiculously awesome.
This would be terrible, but I have to see it.
Exactly. Twice.
But, yes.
For me, it's I'd definitely say the Plagueis novel, either as a show or a movie would be excellent. Shadows of the Empire, that was my gateway into the expanded universe. So I have a deep love for that one. It was also a really fun game and amazing soundtrack. One of my favorite Star Wars periods outside of the Old Republic era is also the Legacy era from the Dark Horse comics. It was outstanding. 130 years later, Skywalker going to the dark side, but differently than Anakin did. Like his dad was the Grand Master who got killed. He was kind of left for dead. So he's cutting himself off from the Force with death sticks. He's a bounty hunter fueling his addiction, turning Jedi into the Sith, like handing them over, and just a lot of deep cut other expanded universe stuff. Legacy was awesome. It
really cool.
was one of my favorite Star Wars stories. I'd love to see that. And ultimately, also, I'm at the point now where I'm just like, friggin' Disney, just continue Legends. Just market it as Legends, but Marvel's going to be doing their what if show kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's that precedent in the comics. Just why not? Make some money. You're going to make your money off of me anyways, but make more of it by continuing Legends and stuff.
Just take all of it. Like I'll just sign my paychecks and EIN checks for free. Take all my money. Just take everything I want to see.
And the Plagueis, especially the Plagueis novel, would answer so much of the Darth Maul stuff that we've been craving for. The Plagueis novel in general is just one of the best expanded universe stories. And it's one of the most easily adaptable into current canon because there's nothing in it that directly contradicts current canon. So why not?
I think they'll do it. They're going to have to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what would be really cool too. I know I mentioned it earlier when I brought up the Old Republic. Like that was more in terms of like following the games themselves. But I mean that is my favorite era, and that's what I want to see. But like the main thing I want to see on screen is the giant war between Sith and Jedi.
Yeah.
That would be epic. Like And that could be like, as far as like as a trilogy goes, that could even be the second one. That would be like the main battle could be like Attack of the Clones or like Empire. Like that could be.
Oh,
And
he's
we
dead.
lost Tom.
And he's dead.
Hey, you're
Oh,
back.
he's back.
Phone call in the middle of that.
Well, I was gonna say, like, I don't care for the Old Republic MMO, but I remember the trailer you
Yeah.
got for it, and one of the cinematics where like 20, 25, whatever amount of Sith just like storm the Jedi Temple, and then it's the two forces just like running at each other, and you're like, what?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to see.
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
And that's why the Old Republic is my favorite era. And that's why they like, because like, I mean, I love the rule of two and like the pain and the depth and the darkness of the dark side. But I mean, I wanna see 50 Sith, not just one or two. I wanna see the Sith in their prime when they actually gave the Jedi a run for their money and like the yeah, the Sith themselves weren't a fable, like.
I think everyone wants a Lord of the Rings style Star Wars battle.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
Yes. Oh my God, give everybody in Helm's
with Jedi.
Yes. I mean, the closest we've come is the Battle of Geonosis, and that was just Jedi.
Yeah.
There's only one side had lightsabers. That's not cool.
And Mace Windu unnecessarily decapitating a father. That was awesome. That was also really unnecessary.
That's not unnecessary. Jango was trying to kill him too. Self-defense.
Self-defense, exactly.
He could have defended himself without killing him.
What was he gonna do? Realistic. What was he gonna do?
Force push him? Knock him out? He didn't.
No, he would have come back.
Just would have come back. Jango was.
I was also a big fan of that death because that's the only time George Lucas was able to direct like a super awesome badass, as Christian would say, character, actually getting a death that fitted him instead of, oh, I accidentally knocked you down a pit, or, oh, hey, I cut you in half because of reasons.
Darth Maul, I mean, like, I don't think Darth Maul should have quote unquote died in Phantom Menace, but I actually thought that was a pretty good death. Like, that was an epic fight. Obi-Wan got the advantage in half. Like, I loved that. I was just like, perfect. Like, I don't want you to go, but that was a good death.
I was fine with the fight. It was just they could have done it another way, where if they wanted to show he was cocky, but it was like they showed how proficient and awesome a fighter he was. And then that mistake is the one he goes with.
The idea that I heard a while ago was Maul should have survived through 1 and 2, and then Anakin would have killed him to become Palpatine's apprentice.
Right.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
Anakin Maul fight.
That also would have given the fight that people wanted for years, like Vader versus Maul, basically.
Yeah.
But I mean, they needed that Dooku connection to the Jedi. Like they needed Palpatine's apprentice to have been a former Jedi at that point. Dooku was very important to his plan.
I feel like we're getting into other territory, which could be its own episode.
We're really
fantasy film, the prequels, and maybe we'll do that later. So I'm gonna. I think
you're gonna cut us off there.
I think I'm gonna call it. We definitely hit it. But we will. I think between the three of us, we should do a fantasy film of the prequels. That could be a lot of fun.
Absolutely, the way they should have been.
All right, so gentlemen, any final words before we dip? And I'll also have unlike Darko, when I ask if you have final words, I don't mean I'm going to kill you.
That's usually what he means, yes. Because Darko's a murderer.
Yes.
For the uninitiated, Darko's a murderer.
Dear listener,
but understand.
Dear listener, never anger Darko. His response is disproportionate and violent.
If he ever invites you over, says he wants to show you the basement, don't trust him.
right. So, any final words, gentlemen?
No, it's just been a good time talking for 2.5 hours almost.
All right, right on. Well, dear listener, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of One Cross Radio, and let us know in the comments what of these unmade Star Wars movies appealed the most to you, and what other Star Wars unmade topics would you be interested in? Video games, comics, shows, what
Action
have you?
figures.
Action figures. Although at this point, most Star Wars action figures have been made, with a couple glaring omissions. There are some that the fan base are really ticked off about. They're like, we got that, but we didn't get this character. But that's a different episode for a different time and probably a different podcast. All that being said, hope you have a wonderful day. Gentlemen, thank you for joining. And listener, be sure to check out Stereo Mics to meet all your vinyl and recording needs. Have a wonderful day, and God bless, my friends. Take care. Peace.